Rivals. It can be simply defined as people competing with one another for the same objective or for superiority. But rivals are so much more. They mold us to become powerful beyond measure, giving us the will to push past our own limits, going beyond just good enough, going for just one more, making each other better, because as they say, iron sharpens iron. Well, it's me, guys, the one and only Steve Shears, and this week's Rivalry Week was one that hype was built around for all matchups. I don't even know where to start, but let's get you all up and ready for the exciting highlights. Yeah, we'll get to that, because that game was definitely a nail-biter to the end. Alright guys, first up, we got Lincoln to win it, going against Donkey Kong D's Nuts Breezes. Well, it was a breeze for Link this week, scoring over 200 points for the second time this year over the top dog in the division, DK D's Nuts. This rivalry matchup was won early on throughout the weekend, and it was in favor of Link. Looking at his roster, it is hard to tell why he'd be the underdog in this game, but what was clearly based on his record. He just took the game easily. These Nuts had no chance whatsoever, all thanks to Mr. Drew Brees, who threw for 7 touchdowns this game, and a total of 511 yards. When I say he went off, he went off. And DK had no answer. How can you have a great QB performance if you don't add in the wide receivers as well? Alshon Jeffrey and Demaryius Thomas both put in good, well-rounded games. This great outcome by Link will give him his second win for the season by a total of 106 points and drop D's Nuts to a 6-2 record. Yeah. Well, next up, we got Red Zone Weapon facing off against Neo Cortex. Here we go. Neo, you are the chosen one. Well, at least for this week. Keeping Red Zone Weapon from winning once again this week, especially after allowing Tom Brady to rack up the yards and touchdowns, Neo had the perfect answer for that. Air it out. His receivers combined for 4 touchdowns through the air, and especially with the smart move in benching the big dog Aaron Rodgers and replacing him with Rivers, looks like Neo had it all figured out with that move. Red Zone scoring 151 would have gotten him the win any other week, but it just wasn't enough this time, and Neo Cortex will walk out this weekend with the victory in his pocket and leaving Red Zone Weapon still winless. Neocortex will improve to 4-4 on the season and looking to keep improving on and staying in the win column. Alright, now let's get to the next game. Polygon Man versus Conkers Loves TDs. Now on to Polygon Man. After that awful beatdown he endured last weekend, he did what he does best: recover, bounce back, and get a victory. He sent out his minions to encounter the furry freak Conkers, and the minions came together creating teddies. It was going to be a great furry battle. It was a relatively close game though, and Polygon Man held his breath after seeing his QB leave the game with an injury. But who needs him when you got OBJ? Yes, Odell Beckham Jr. 3 scoring touchdowns, giving him one of the best games all season, alongside the tandem receiving duo of Edelman, who could have had a 3-touchdown game as well if one of them wasn't called back. But it made no difference because Polygon Man's Teddies did his job and got the win over Conkers. Thanks to the wide receiving core, after being defeated twice this season by allowing 200 points, Polygon Man has bounced back the following week again and again and gets the win. He will now improve to 5-3 on the season and a great matchup for him next week. Polygon Man, you did it. You recovered after last week and got the win this week. Now let's move on to a great rematch here, and definitely a worthy rivalry match between Peekapoo and Jiggly Slut. In the beginning of the season, Jiggly Slut sang his way for a 200-point win over Peekapoo and put her to sleep quickly. But here we are in rivalry week, and Peekapoo has one more crack at the team that gave her that bad loss in week 1. Would it be the same outcome or a much more different one? Well, it looked like it might have been the same result as their first matchup, especially behind the rookie sensation Todd Gurley and the first-round pick, the Gronk. But Peekapoo did not want to go down this way, and it took an entire team effort, a team which rallied behind Heath Miller's performance, who finally put up positive numbers. Pika would bolt her way into the fourth quarter for the huge upset, and thundering her way to her first victory ever with the starting lineup. This would be a big blow for Jiggly Slut, losing to Pika like this. But she got her revenge for week 1, and what better way to do it than during rivalry week. Pika paralyzes Jiggly with her thunderous win, and she sails to victory. Peekapoo, you finally did it. Took you 8 weeks, but you finally got the win without your bench helping you. Definitely one of the greatest matchups this week, so congrats, Pika. Alright, no more holdups. Let's get to the final game. The Ghost of Sparta versus the undefeated Jack and Daxter Eco Legends. Here it goes. The Ghost of Sparta getting his rematch against Jack and Daxter Eco Legends, who beat the Spartan in week 2 by 14 points. Now the Ghost wanted his revenge, and with a lackluster performance from Jack's receivers, the Ghost of Sparta would look to capitalize on that. Outside of Julio Jones, the wide receiving core for Jack did next to nothing for the Eco Legends. But on the other side of the field, it was a different story. The 2 wideouts for the Spartan have been producing week in and week out. Brandon Marshall and DeAndre Hopkins did their fair share in the air. But it was a surprise comeback win for the Ghosts, who erased a 24-point deficit and came back to win the game by 30 points behind Cam Newton, Jonathan Stewart, and the surprising linebacker Luke Kuechly, who had the game-sealing interception in overtime. the Ghost of Sparta has ended the streak for the undefeated Eco Legends, giving him his first loss of the season. The Ghost of Sparta exacted his revenge finally and will walk away from the game with plenty of momentum and, most importantly, the win under his belt. Wow, guys, that was just a great game. Hats off to Ghost for being the first one to stop Jak and Daxter. Alright guys, let's take it over to the next segment where we'll be showing the Week 8 Power Rankings. Alright, for Week 8 Power Rankings, we still have on top Jak and Daxter Eco Legends. 3 teams win up this week: Ghost of Sparta, Polygon Man, and Lincoln to Win It. 2 teams going down in the ladder this week: Donkey Kong D's Nuts and Conkers Loves TDs. And 2 teams staying neutral: Jiggly Slut and Las Vegas Red Zone Weapon. And that's a little breakdown for your Week 8 Power Rankings. Thanks for having me on the show, guys. And you know, from 8 weeks in, we bend, we don't break.